Hello everyone and welcome back to Creating Conversation. I'm your host, Owen Macaulay, the founder and president of the Tala Academy of Sequential Art, or TASQ Art, T-A-S-Q-A-R-T. Typically in these introductions I say I've been making comics for over a decade, but I just want to take an opportunity and do something different in today's episode and put a spotlight on one of the comics I've worked on in the past, and it's currently still a work in progress. That is The Legend of William Lamport. William Lamport was a real historical figure in Irish history from County Wexford, and it's been argued that he is the real-life inspiration for pulp figure character Zorro in Johnson's McCulley, The Course of Capistrano, later collected as The Mark of Zorro in 1990. I've been working with Cormac Hughes, who's been doing the pencils and inks on this particular feature, with colours by Ellie Wright and Trina Farrell on the cover colour, and Rob Jones has been doing the lettering on the series as well. Initially during lockdown, I began finally carving out a piece of time in my schedule to collect and serialise this story in an online format, which we released for free as online at thelegendofwilliamlamport.com. That's Lamport.com. And it was just taking advantage of the time during lockdown. Now, my good friend John Siuntres of the Word Balloon podcast, and if you're not following Word Balloon, do check out John's channel. It's amazing. You can find him on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. John interviewed me back during the lockdown stage of the coronavirus pandemic. And this is going back to 2020. I was having a conversation with John. So with John's permission, I've extracted our interview and edited it into today's episode of Creating Conversation, where I talk in depth about my collaboration and research into The Legend of William Lamport. It's a little bit longer than our usual episodes because you're essentially getting an episode of Word Balloon fitted in. But what I've also done is I've taken a motion comic trailer that we did. So we essentially took the opening introduction of the graphic novel and turned it into a motion comic. This was animated by one of my former students, Donald Hanway, who did a fantastic job taking the artwork by Cormac and Ellie and adding some animations and motion graphics to it. And original music was added by Louis Claffey. And of course, John Kelly came along. He was looking to get some experience to do some voiceover acting and animation. So he came along and he added his vocal talents in bringing the characters alive. So for audio audiences, you can still listen to it and it will come across as a nice little audio drama for you at the start of today's episode. And if you enjoy what you hear in terms of the audio introduction, do let me know if you like the audio dramatization of it all. I'll be happy to explore more of that on this particular platform. As always, leave your comments below and I'll drop me an email at info@tasqart.com, and I'll be happy to explore more. So many thanks to Donal, Louis and John on the work with regards to the motion comics, and also many thanks to Cormac, Ellie and Rob for the artwork and overall design and aesthetic of bringing The Legend of William Lamport to print. Now, with regards to the project, where we are now, originally I secured some funding from the Young Artist Development Grant. It's been a while since I've been called a young artist, I tell you what, but I secured some funding to initially kickstart and begin this project. I had secured a publisher based in the UK, but basically upon reflection, the deal that was presented was no more similar than what I would be able to do myself with the Lightning Strike brand. That's my own publishing label. And so I decided I could retain more creative control and any potential for remuneration if I just produced it myself. So that's what I decided to do. It took me a minute to actually begin in-depth production for the series because you'll hear in the interview, at the time this interview was recorded with John in 2020, I was a program director for another institution, and that took a lot of my time just trying to put everything together. So essentially, during lockdown, I wasn't commuting in and out of work. I had basically nearly 2 to 4 extra hours within my day. I was able to convert that time I would have lost in the commute, kickstarting this project. Of course, when things reopened, it again took the wind out of our sails when we were doing like weekly installments and releases of the series, but I learned a lot. I was able to use it and get some great insight from other leading industry experts who I presented it to, and I'm hoping to return to it, hopefully in the very near future. So what I would say is, if you would like a physical copy of The Legend of William Lamport, we released the individual chapters as standalone issues. So you can get chapter 1 and 2. You can purchase that on the Lightning Strike website, lightningstrikecomics.com. Or you can go to the Lightning Strike Comics website again and download it as a digital comic book also. However, because this was already funded, you can actually read all of the latest installments for free on a separate website, thelegendofwilliamlamport.com. If you go to that website, you'll be able to access everything that we've done so far for free and read everything up to date. Chapter 3 hasn't been collected yet, and typically I try to get copies, physical copies for free out to schools and libraries as well. But ultimately it's an economical decision now that likely the next time we print this project, I would like it to be the final complete trade, and I'll make that available through the Lightning Strike web store. I have reached out to other publishers to partner with, and honestly, I won't name names, but some of the feedback that we received from publishers is that the project was so far into development, they couldn't foresee how they'd be able to participate in its production. It was a very unusual decline. I like to think perhaps they were just being polite to me, but it's a unique rejection, I would say, that the project was too complete. Often publishers would jump at the chance if something's ready to go and there was a built-in audience and following. Now, the trailer that I've included, I should say a motion comic, this is also available on the Legend of William Lamport YouTube page, so you can check that out. Audio listeners will be able to hear the audio performance by John Kelly, but those of you watching this episode on YouTube, you'll be able to see the trailer as well. I've also included the full conversation with John. Originally, I was going to go in and cut elements of it out because it was referring back to a time when we were under lockdown. But really, upon listening back to it, there was a lot of ground covered, particularly about the generosity of some of the creators during this time of lockdown, doing online classes, online markets, workshops, etc. So I would like to keep that contained within this episode. I felt sure, why not? So hopefully no one's caught off guard listening to it or bringing back any sad or distressing memories from that particular time. So that's a way of an introduction. What you'll hear next will be the motion comic of the first chapter of The Legend of William Lamport, and then afterwards it'll be my interview with John. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Siege of La Rochelle, 1627. They say he was taken by pirates as a boy. He wasn't much to ransom, but rather than kill him, they saw something in him. Deep down, he was one of their own. The pirates taught him how to use a sword, and in time, the boy became a man, and the man became their captain. But he became something else as well. A wild, ferocious animal, with the cunning of a fox. 1659, Inquisition Jail, Mexico.
Come now, Lorenzo. You're falling foul to the fanciful tales of drunken knaves.
Maybe. Or maybe he did slay all those men at La Rochelle.
He's probably related to King Philip as well. No, I think you have been swept away by a flight fancy.
But...
The devil! Alvaro, what's wrong? Why have you left your post?
Sound the alarm! He's escaped! It's true, he must consort with the devil himself!
Who? Who has escaped?
Lamport! Lamport has escaped! Sir, a prisoner has escaped. It's the spy, sir.
Send all available men in pursuit by horseback.
Why so many gods after one man?
The Grand Inquisitor is worried by him.
And rightly so. There were whispers that this man practiced dark magic with the natives and is a companion of the devil. Now that he has escaped, I am not so sure they were whispers.
You disappoint me, old man.
Please, it's all I have. Please.
Ugh!
It's you, isn't it?
Do you still trade in parchment ink?
Yes. Why?
I need to borrow some supplies. I need parchment, ink, and a quill.
Yes, of course. Of course, I have some here. Here it is.
My thanks.
You there! Stop! What are you doing?
I am delivering a message to the people and calling an end to the madness of this Inquisition.
Heresy!
Thank you for the horse. I was beginning to tire.
The next morning. And that is how he escaped.
Your bumbling incompetence has released a dangerous prisoner with dangerous ideologies among the people. You've turned this council into a laughing stock, and worst of all, you permitted this heretical article to adorn the doors of God's house. Take them away. You'll be hanged for your mistakes.
No, please, no!
We must find the traitor and heretic Lamport and end his madness before it spreads among the people. He will burn for this.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon. If you enjoy the videos here, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the Word Balloon YouTube channel, and of course if you enjoy the audios and the videos, you can subscribe to my Patreon page, patreon.com/wordballoon. Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon. Welcome to the weekend, the Comic Book Conversation Show. John Siuntres here. Very excited to talk to Owen McCauley today about a really interesting project that he's got brewing, and you could be a part of it because it is online for free. The Legend of William Lamport. Who is William Lamport? Well, it all started when Owen found a book about a real adventurer from Ireland who the title of the book was The Irish Zorro. How does that work? Well, William Lamport was an Irish merchant arrested for treason against the King of England. He escaped to join a band of pirates and evolved into the King of Spain's spy in Mexico to become the precursor for Mexican independence. Kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it? Kind of sounds like Don Diego's story. And maybe this real historical story was the inspiration of Zorro. And we all know Zorro was the inspiration for Batman. It's very, very interesting. Owen McCauley and Cormac Hughes, with colors by Ellie Wright and by Robin Jones, have created The Legend of William Lamport. It's an online graphic novel. Now, it definitely takes license from the true story and makes it a bit of a more swashbuckling adventure story, but It's incredible, and it's an online graphic novel that's in process. It is being released by chapters, but also if you go to the website, there's new material every week, including bonus artwork and historical essays. It's all happening now online for free at The Legend of William Lamport, Lamport, WilliamLamport.com. The Legend of WilliamLamport.com. We talk to Owen Macaulay today about William Lamport, his inspiration, the Irish comic scene, and a whole lot more. It's all about the Irish Zorro on today's Word Balloon. I hope you're going to enjoy this. Welcoming Owen Macaulay to Word Balloon. Owen, it's a pleasure, man. We met a couple years ago at New York Comic Con, and I'm glad that we've had this opportunity now to talk on the show. It's good to see you.
Likewise, thanks very much. I was just saying to you this off air, like, big fan of the show. Myself, a lot of my friends over here, we all listen in. I teach as well. I teach in an animation course. I'm course director there, but I'm always recommending it to my students as well to listen in, because the catalogue that you have is absolutely fantastic. So this is, it's amazing, the content. I think it was you did an interview with Elliot S. Magan a few years ago. I think that's how I came to know about you, because I was a big fan of Elliot's, and since then, you even introduced me to Patreon and everything as well. That's how I through that show, how I learned about it. Now I'm know all about the comic guys and a bunch of other creators as well. So it's been great. So it's great to be here to talk as well. So thanks for everything that you've done with the show. That's been awesome, man.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. And honestly, it still blows my mind that hell, people outside of Chicago are listening to me, let alone all the way in Ireland. So that's wonderful. And I love learning about the Irish comics community through yourself and through Deck Shelby, who we were just talking about off the air. How are things before the virus and really now during the virus in terms of the Irish comic scene?
Well, what's happening now is, just when this kicked off in March, we had a big convention, Dublin Comic Con. So this show was like the organisers behind the show, they do a fantastic job. They bring in a lot of media guests, but they've also been very good to the comic creators as well. In the past, we've had Chris Ryle from IDW come along and do portfolio reviews. We've had Eric Lawson from Image. We've had folks from Titan Comics as well coming along and doing portfolio reviews. So it's been a great show and experience. But just when the COVID lockdown happened, that show couldn't go ahead. Now, there's another show that takes place in August, but I think it still might be too close for everything then. We're currently on phase one of the, coming out of the lockdown, as it were, but we're still very much, social distancing and everything. So I very much doubt that the Comic-Con will go ahead. I can't speak really for it, but I'm surprised if it does. However, what the show has been doing, and what they've been a great, community spirit behind them, is they did an online store for all the indie traders. So everyone who had an Artist Alley table, they were able to come on board, and they were able to, promote the online store during the lockout. So that's been, fantastic, and it's great to see them rally behind that support. So the main thing with Irish comics is we're more of a community than we are an industry, because, we definitely have a lot of people. We have, of course, Declan Shelby. We have William Sliney as well, Will Sliney down in Cork. He's been knocking out of the park the last while. Since the school shut down in Ireland, our main broadcaster, RTE, has been doing a school from home kind of series where they broadcast to kids. And Will Sliney has been doing art classes like We Will Draw. And it's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
So it's just been wonderful. And of course, there's a lot of great people here in Ireland who contribute to the comic scene. There's, of course, Stephen Mooney, who does Half Past Danger at IDW, which is I think he just announced Volume 3 is coming out. He just announced that there earlier a few weeks ago. And then we also have a great country for colorists as well. We have Trina Farrell, who's a great colorist as well. She does a lot of prolific work as well with Marvel and a lot of the big labels. And of course, there's Ellie Wright as well, who I'm working with on this project. And Ellie's she's been working with Dynamite as well, doing James Bond. She did colors of James Bond and the Batman Shadow cover as well, which was a crossover there a few years ago. And of course, there's Robert Carey as well, who's he did a stint on James Bond with Dynamite, and he's also done some Power Rangers stuff as well with Boom. So it's just been great. It's the whole community here has been very supportive, of each other. When someone does well, it's kind of like we don't begrudge anyone the success. We're always there to, reach out and say well done, or to ask tips, and to, it's fantastic. So, and like I'm very privileged in that what I do during the day is I'm the course director for an animation degree with a college called Pulse College. But part of that, in year 2, we do a sequential art and design course and module, and we do it as an intro course as well. So we had the likes of Nick Roach, who has done a lot of stuff with Transformers, and he did a stint on Spider-Man as well. And he came on board, and we did a great course where he wrote the script, and then the different students interpreted the script their way. And at the end, you had this amazing collage of all this. It's the exact same dialogue, the exact same script, but it's interpreted differently. So in one story, the characters are male and female. In another, they're anthropomorphic animals. In another, it's, same gender, and so on and so forth. It's just fantastic, So it's really like, and I think, like, of course, and on, like, I know when I was in, like, secondary school, high school, no one was really, I think it was me and 2 other guys who would have been reading comic books. And then, when Iron Man hit, I remember just that came along just in the cusp of when I was starting college, and suddenly it's like whole new, eyes wide open for a lot of people, So it's definitely the mainstream media. I know some people will knock, conventions, sometimes bringing in like the actors and guests and stuff, because here in Ireland we have, like, the biggest show we probably have is Dublin Comic Con, the homegrown show, and they're bringing in like a lot of the Hollywood names but they know that's what the mothers and fathers will bring their kids to, because they know them from the films, not necessarily the comic book. So we're not quite there just yet for the in terms of like pure comic book mainstream, but the general public. But if you're a fan of comic books, it's never been a greater time than at the moment, And there used to be other shows as well. We used to have DICE, which is the Dublin International Comic Expo, which the lads out in Big Bang used to run as well. And you have cool little community clubs as well. I get like all my comics down with Dublin City Comics, and that's how I began getting into comics myself. But they used to have a basement club which they call the Geek Easy, and that's kind of that kind of stuff, So there's plenty. Like, I think, where are we now? Like in Dublin, like, so the entire island of Ireland would probably, half the population of New York alone, I think. And then when it's like, well, when you look at like Dublin, which is like not even the biggest, it's our capital, but it's not even our biggest county. But Dublin alone has like, how many now? It must be like 5 comic book shops or so,
That's great.
Yeah. So this is it. So the community here is, I just have to say, like, they're a great bunch of people. Everyone who works and contributes to the industry, and it's never been a better time. And technology is making it so accessible as well to share ideas and content. It's just, it's fantastic.
That's great, man. And honestly, it's wonderful to hear that for a change. Would you say that the Iron Man film was a catalyst for more comic book readers? Because that's great to if that's what you're saying. I mean, it.
Yeah. So like the only thing I can point to is like from my own experiences, and this is like from school, from friends, from family. I just know, thanks to like the CW show, for example, my parents now know about the multiverse and the Flash. Like, I never thought, like, I was like, how is this possible? So if I talk about the Reverse Flash, or I talk about the Anti-Monitor, they know what I'm on about. I'm like, that's fantastic. So like, I don't know now. That doesn't mean my parents are going out and buying comics. They're not turning around and then they're not going buying the graphic novel. So I don't think it's resulting in a direct correlation to sales. But what it is doing is that it's allowing people, there's no longer a stigma attached, that if I'm on the bus and I'm reading a comic, then everyone's like, oh, that's fine. Yeah, cool. So before the Iron Man film, there was a stigma. So even if it's not increasing sales, it's just making it, no one's going to look at me twice if I'm reading comic books. I remember, Jonathan Ross, the British broadcaster, he did a great documentary and said, he remember once he was on TV and he's interviewing an actress. Oh God, I forget who it was, but he was saying to her, like, he's kind of whispering, so do you read comic books? And she was like, you can ask me, it's not pornography or anything, but it's just like that. So that kind of, that kind of awkwardness is gone. So that's definitely something that the likes of Iron Man and everything has done and has made it mainstream. And because it's mainstream, people will come to the conventions. And if they come to the convention, then the chances are the kids might want a souvenir, and that could be like a program that they pick up or something. And like I collaborate with Dublin Comic Con, and in the past we've done comic books specifically for the show. And usually what we do is we make a comic with a load of the local Irish comic creators, and then we sell it, and then we usually donate it to like the children's hospitals or something like that. And thanks to those kind of exercises, I've had a chance to, interview Stan Lee, which is great, and get that in the magazine. And I think, it's in one magazine we got Kevin Conroy, who was Batman, Stan Lee, who was just the man, and we got that in one magazine. It was like, yeah, awesome. So, and then we put that together, then you get the local creators to do like a short story, put that in, and suddenly then everyone's like, oh, here's the magazine I'm in, also featuring, Stan Lee. It's just, that kind of stuff's great. So I think definitely the fact that, as well as I mentioned, like I've worked on workshops and course content at third level as well for this kind of stuff. It shows there's definitely a supply and demand for it. And in Ireland in particular, we have a huge animation industry because, of course, we're home to like Cartoon Saloon, which was, brought out Oscar nominated, films like The Secret of Kells and The Song of the Sea and The Breadwinner, which Angelina Jolie was a producer on. And that kind of skill set, which is all like digital drawing and scripting and storyboarding, it's the same, a lot of transferable skills there. So it's been nifty. But yeah, I think sometimes I listen and I to what people say about like the conventions, the big media ones. I'm like, well, sometimes it can be a gateway, or at least helping with that stigma side of things. But the best pure comic, because there's still this like pure comic book shows out there, and the best I think could be Top Bubble in Leeds in the UK. That one's a fantastic show. If you ever get a chance to go to it, it's
I'd love to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, man, whenever travel does finally normalize, there and Lucca in Italy and Angoulême in France, I love. I 20 years ago, and every time I say it, I can't believe it's been that long. But in 2000, I got to go to the Netherlands and see a couple comic shops in the Netherlands, and that was just fantastic to see. And then growing up as I was a massive Doctor Who fan in the 70s and 80s, it was great to see the imports from England of Doctor Who memorabilia in the magazine and all that stuff. So I was seeing Dave Gibbons' Doctor Who comics and stuff when I was in late high school and into college. And so it's terrific. It's wonderful to see, and I love the fact that your comic shop has the Geek Easy that's in the basement. That's fantastic. That's outstanding.
Yeah. Oh no, I tell you, it's gas. Like if you've ever been to like an Irish pub, like in Ireland, and you go in, you have the banter, and you have your pint, you have the banter. The comic book shops here are the exact same. You go in, you pick up your comic, and you have the banter. That's it. But the lads like Doc J, Deb, Des, Anto, all the guys in Dublin City Comics, like you can go in. It's just the banter is just absolutely fantastic. And I think if it wasn't for that sense of community that those guys brought in and the banter, then like I don't know if I would have being as involved in comics or reading as much, because you hear some stories where people, you go in, sometimes they're afraid it might be this kind of perception, it's all clicky, or you need to know like a 1,000,001 books before you can pick up one. But sure. It's great when you can go in and then someone's just like, oh yeah, we recommend this title, or we recommend this. I'll just talk to you about what you like, and then over the years they'll know. Like it's great as these guys will they see something in the Diamond catalog and they go, oh no, like that, they'll they put it aside or ask me, like, fantastic. That's kind of what you want from a comic shop and a community. And then having a hangout called the Geek Easies is great as well.
Absolutely, man. Well, and again, the pub culture of Ireland and the sense of community that really is surrounding great pubs and great comic shops for that matter too, with the social distancing and everything. Are you talking to stores? Do you, the Irish stores, and how as you say, you guys are in phase one of getting out of the lockdown. Um, it's something that I haven't talked about to an international guest yet. So
Mhm.
I am curious, how do you think the social distancing will impact the communities of the stores?
Well, what's been happening so far is we'll be asked if it's depending on the size of the shop, you have to stand 2 meters away, and I think they want face coverings as well in enclosed spaces, and there'll be hand gel sent out and gloves. So I think definitely maybe the days of going in and having the banter as such, might be more restricted because they'd be definitely like come in and pick up what you need and then go. But what's great is, and what we have to get through this is social media. And
Of course.
what the guys been doing? So, Big Bang, if you follow them on Twitter, they're doing a fantastic job of just engaging with their followers and their customers and just comic news in general. They're great for interacting with people on Twitter. Dublin City Comics have been great on Instagram, and they do YouTube videos as well.
Great.
But just don't lose any respect for me when you look at my me acting like the fool on YouTube with them. we always mess around on YouTube, but
That's all right.
it's
I got my
it's
screw around show. You know about all
they,
your comics. You know what I do with that. That's
that's
me completely
that's
unhinged,
it.
and sometimes at the drop of a hat, ready to kill somebody. So no, that's
That's it exactly. I think it's just like we all have that inner kid to act out
oh
on
yeah.
camera when we get the chance. But but the guys have been great for going on and just using social media, and like Jason Flood in Dublin City Comics does a great job of when collectibles or toys come in, he'll pose them and it will look like the life size and the helper for the day. So you'll have something like Boba Fett carrying a crate of Diamond comics coming in, and that's the kind of interaction people get. But then in terms of business, you can contact them on Facebook. You can go to the online stores, and then they can ship out to you. So what I've been doing during the lockdown is I just messaged them on Facebook. Thankfully, comics have started to return to us, because we get ours through Diamond UK. So we were a couple of weeks behind you guys, and I think we're going to be staying 2 weeks, I think, or something like that, from like
Okay.
US release date. But
Okay.
stuff's coming back in now, which is great. So you can contact them and they can send stuff out in the post, and that's great. And I mean, the On Post, which is the Irish postal service, has been doing an absolute blinder and getting stuff, between
Understood.
everywhere. It's like it's been great. So in terms of that going forward, I think the banter might be, a little more restricted in shop on premises, but the service they're providing is, top notch. You can order with these shops online and they'll send it out. And also, for the fun and the banter and the recommendation, that will still continue through, social media. And so I think that's like one of the positives, I suppose, of, social media. You usually hear always the downside, but it's been great because like I have a nephew who's just like 1 and 2 months, and during the lockdown couldn't see him, but thanks to social media, like we can still get the videos and stuff. So no, I think as tough as it would have been tougher if we didn't have like this Star Trek supercomputer stuff that we have going on
I hear
these
you,
days.
man. I absolutely hear you, and I agree. And I even continue to make the point. God, thank God this didn't happen during the '80s or even the '70s. My God, and I can only imagine
Yeah.
what phone bills would have been like. So yes, this is where social media, and this is great that you and I are talking now and everything. So and you're right. God, the post offices they don't get enough credit internationally and how vital they are during this situation as well.
This is
You
it.
know,
I think some people were I know in some countries, and I know particularly in Ireland, some people were kind of questioning, like, oh, do we still need post offices today and all this? And then this crisis went, boom, this is what more proof do you need of a vital and important service?
agreed. And unfortunately, we've got our people that still question that need, but no, I think if people really break it down and realize how vital they are, and getting meds to the elderly and stuff that can't get out even normally if there wasn't a lockdown in place. No, I couldn't agree more. And also, I wanted to obviously talk about your online comic that you're doing, because I
Mhm.
also respect everyone that is making books. Hey, we all love shops, and I don't want that misconstrued, but I do find it fascinating and glad to see that the alternates to going through Diamond are healthy and doing well, and people are making great comics and stuff. So tell us about your online comic.
Yeah, super. So essentially, what I'm working on now at the moment is being a passion project of mine for years. Since I think probably since my first year in college. So I studied history in Trinity College Dublin, and it was one of those subjects where if you pick it, you do a little bit of everything. There's a little bit of language, there's a little bit of your research, there's a little bit of even numeracy and so on and so forth. But along the way, obviously, I was a huge comic book fan my whole life, and particularly superheroes. So I was always fascinated with finding the truth to certain myths, like what inspired King Arthur. And they say now that King Arthur, the Sword and the Stone, might go back as far as the Stone Age, and could be about actually the Iron Age, I should say, and it could be like a stone casting in which they used to forge the sword and then drew from it,
Wow.
that kind of stuff. And then I think you've mentioned it before on the podcast as well, because obviously I've worked on other characters and titles before, like Lee Fox, the Phantom, and it's the Phantom's white eyes is why Batman has white eyes, and that comes from Greek busts where the paint rolled away, and then it's just plain white, and it made it look.
I had no idea. I'm Greek, and I had no idea that was. I mean, again, I knew the tie to the Phantom, but I didn't realize that was the thing. That's wonderful, man.
Oh yeah. No, basically, Lee Falk looked at the busts, and he went, "Look how creepy the eyes are on the plain white," and he goes, "That's what my character would have."
That's
and then
fantastic.
every other character afterwards. Yeah. So it's just little bits like that. So then I remember one day I was just going through. So the Trinity College Library is a copyright library, like the National Library of Ireland and the British National Library as well. So that means every single book ever printed or made in UK or Ireland is available through the library. So you go on and you have like this catalogue. Funnily enough, the Long Room Library was ripped off for Attack of the Clones in Star Wars. If you actually Google the Trinity Long Room Library Star Wars, you'll see a side-by-side comparison of the two rooms.
That's amazing.
They always used to joke, if you ever go to Dublin, you go on the tour, the Book of Kells, they take you into the room, and then they're kind of like, they tell you the story, how it's ripped off, and then they say, we always, we should really take up our liars one of these days, but I think they just love having the story to tell,
Sure.
but in the catalogue, they have like a computerized catalogue, and you type in anything, any phrase or word, and it will let you know every book under the sun that's tied to it. So I remember once I was just looking into, I forget what it was, but I think it must be some kind of combination of words such as like real Zorro, because obviously Zorro, the masked hero. So I think I must type something in that and then just by pure coincidence, I came up, and I mean, my jaw just hit the floor, was this book here. It's called The Irish Zorro by Gerard Ronan. And it says The Extraordinary Adventures of William Lamport from 1615 to 1659. So I'm like, okay. I was like, Mr. Librarian, this is some serious research needs to go on. I request this book immediately. So when I got it, like even in the opening pages, the author makes the point of, so you have Zorro, and Zorro was one of, Bob Kane's inspirations for the Batman. So
Absolutely.
Then you have Zorro, and you have Batman, and that this all then, if you go back far enough, this all stems from this guy, William Lamport.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. I was like, so you mean to tell me that I can just by clinging that there's some real life connection to Zorro and Batman out there? Like, okay, I'm going to cling on to that.
Well, yeah.
So I was like, but this is true, like, because they always say, obviously, the American superhero is part of modern American mythology because
Sure.
That's it. It was made. There was no other like mythological base, like how I can go back to like Cuchulainn and so on and so forth here, the Irish myths and legends. In America, you guys invented basically Superman, and that's your myth, that's your heritage. And I said, great. So but there's always an inspiration behind some of those stories. Like Michael Uslan, the Batman producer, he always has a great story how he got to teach the first ever college accredited course to do comic books, because he went into the dean and he said, the dean was like, so you want to do my college to run a course in the funny books? And he goes, convince me. And so Michael Uslan says, tell me the story of Moses. And he goes, well, it's the baby in the basket put in the reed down the Nile. And Michael Uslan just turns around to the dean and says, well, you just told me this origin story of Superman, And
Right.
so there's always some kind of I think for the great, the modern myths and stories, and you can look into like, John Campbell's The Monomyth and so on and so forth. There's a lot you can scale back on. But I always like to think that there must be some kind of inkling, some kind of inspiration behind it all. So I was delighted then to find out that, the character of Zorro might have been inspired by this guy called William Lamport. So I then quickly, just bade myself into like researching the character. And as I was saying, I was studying history at the time, so I was considering making him the topic for my dissertation for my bachelor's. And then when I was going into it, like as I was saying, I was a huge comic book fan, and I had in my second year of college, because I think when would that have been, about 2011 or so. We had, the big economic crash that happened internationally, so no one was working. So I was like, I was in college and I kind of stuck between this rock and a hard place that everyone has, which is I need a job, but to get a job, you need experience, but I have no experience to get the job. Yep. So as I mentioned, the Geek Easy in Dublin City Comics is where like myself and a lot of like-minded individuals, mainly all comic book writers and artists, we all hung out there. And so we decided to put our noggins together and we came up with an anthology magazine called Light and Strike Presents. And this is a really fun book. We, like a lot of people, Ruth Redmond, who is a fantastic colorist, that was one of our first professional paid work, was through Light and Strike. And Luca Passari, who's doing fantastic stuff. If you haven't seen any of his Marvel stuff, it's like top notch. He did some stuff with us as well. So that was a fun, experience. And during that time, I got to meet, great artists, including Cormac Hughes. And so I was saying to Cormac about, hey, I came across this guy, I told him the story, and I was like, we should totally turn this into a graphic novel. So I told him the story, and the story of William Lamport is fascinating. He's born in Wexford. His exact age we're not sure, because he was a bit of a devil and he always lied. He never very truthful about his age. And I'm like, that's fine, because what I'm presenting is definitely not historically. I wouldn't say it's the events and the timeline is as close and well researched as I can make it, but I am taking creative license. So you're very much getting the Hollywood approach to the story, So I'm like, okay, let's add the Hollywood approach to it, So,
sure.
But I said that's grand. But the idea is, if people pick up and they read it and they like what they see, well, that might get them to pick up a history book and read about, well, what was the Battle of La Rochelle? What was the Battle of Kinsale and so on and so forth. These are like some people might not know, and it'd be a great introductory point. So I'm like, great. So that's the approach. So we're basically it's definitely Hollywood, but it's also sure. It's not also not 100% pulling it from our butts, But the story. But the story is great. We're introduced to a young boy called William Lamport, who loses his mother at an early age. His father is a merchant, but has a very, militaristic and shady background. On the passing of his wife, he decides to enter into religious orders. And what happens then is he has obviously children left behind, but William is proven to be, a very sharp young man, and a bit rebellious. So he decides to see to it that William is educated. At the time, in the 1600s in Ireland, we were under, English occupation. There's plantations, and like the Irish Catholic landowners were displaced by the Protestant English classes. So William, when he becomes old enough to go on to education to Trinity College, he wouldn't be able to, because that was strictly no Catholics allowed at the time. So this then leads to William being educated under the Jesuits, and then eventually, when he's old enough, he goes to London to study. But while in London, he writes a pamphlet which is treasonous against the King of England. So what happens then is he's arrested, and his father uses his resources to have him sprung from prison so that he can basically go to Spain, where his brother, who also took holy orders, is currently set. So William must have been about 14 at this stage, but on his way to sail to Spain, he's abducted by pirates and becomes a pirate. as you do. So immediately I'm just like, this thing is just writing itself, you know.
Wow.
So he becomes a great military strategist then, while he's also a pirate, and
Sure.
so he decides. So what he decides to do then is, when he reaches an age where he knows, because he was educated, he basically was like, well, I could be the numbers guy, I could be the logistics guy. But when he got older, he realized, well, they might actually want me to risk my life in combat a lot more. So what he decided to do then was forge documents, trying to pass himself off as being related to the King of Spain. And then he finally makes his way to Spain, not to meet up with his brother, but to try and become a nobleman in the King Philip IV's court,
Wow.
which he almost manages to do. Except, of course, he falls in love with a beautiful woman, a noble woman of the court, Anna, and she falls pregnant from the liaison. And what happens then is the King of Spain is not impressed. So he says to William Lamport, look, if you want to get back into my favor, I need you to go to Mexico, which is what they hope to be New Spain, and act as my spy.
Wow.
So what happens is he goes to Spain, he goes to Mexico, he becomes a spy. But what happens then is, what does he see when he goes to Mexico is the Spanish are displacing the native Mexicans from the land the same way he's seeing it back home. And suddenly this person who was like a pirate, hungry for power, looking to grow his own experience, suddenly he has this revelation of, maybe I can turn the tables here, maybe I can stand for something else. And he draws up a Declaration of Independence, almost a century before the French Declaration of Independence. He pins it to the cathedral doors, and this is where the origin story of sorts begins, because suddenly he's arrested by the Spanish Inquisition, but he escapes. And this is where some of the mythology stuff comes in. Some people say he got the nickname because he escaped of El Zorro, which is the Spanish for the fox. And then other people are saying that even the idea of Zorro drawing a Z on the wall, that might have been interpreted as a lightning strike, which could have stood for this kind of sacred spark that the Jesuits, who would have educated Lamport, would have included, So this is all the fun stuff. So to this day, there's still a statue that stands for Lamport in Mexico, and I was like amazed at this whole story, like how it unraveled. And I'm like, oh man, I really got to tell this story. But there was a couple of setbacks in getting the story off the ground, and it was mainly just timekeeping. Like when we began, it was myself and Cormac, and we had Trina Farrell come on board as the colorist, and she colored the fantastic cover that we have. You can check all this out on the website as well. And what happened then was we even won an award. We got I was awarded the Young Artist Development Award from South Dublin County Council, the arts office there. So I got funding to do it.
Wow.
So this is great. So I mean, this has come, the book, if anyone's interested in it, we're putting it out for free online, so it's not costing anyone anything to follow it along. And like everything's covered for the artists as well, so the creative team are getting paid, and it's not going to cost anyone anything to read it. But what happened was, it was just awful timing, because at the time we finally were going full steam ahead with Lamport. Professionally, I was just getting these other offers that were just taking up my time. Trina then, unfortunately, was very busy, so and I was fortunate that I was able to work with her again, because she also teaches with me as well in Pulse College, which is great. So Ellie Wright then, who I mentioned, has worked with Dynamite, and she's done I think it's like James Bond and Betty Page and a few other titles. She came on board, and she's our colorist now. And we have Robin Jones, who is the letterer as well, and he's been a long time letterer of mine since we were working on the Phantom comic books. Because I think just when I got the funding in for Lamport, at the same time I got my first contract to produce a comic featuring Lee Fox, the Phantom, and then we did that as a charity book then with Dublin Comic Con one year. And when we did that, it just seemed to be one thing after another. So During the lockdown, then what I realized was I had basically 2 hours a day that would have been spent, transport going in and out of work. So I was
Sure.
like, well, that's 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's 10 hours. That's time that I'm like, let's put the head down and get this done. So the approach that we're taking to it is we have a 7-page prologue up, followed by chapters, and the chapters are serialized into like 1 or 2 page entries. And so every week we put up a new post, and you can log in, and then we share it on social media. At the moment, also the website will have bonus material like articles about some of the historical stuff, just background information on the project. Sometimes I'll have line work by Cormac Hughes, the fantastic artist behind it as well, and you can see like some of the behind the scenes sketches or advanced artwork as well for future installments. And the website's very simple. You can access it it reads the same on a smartphone, a tablet, or a PC. And the only thing is, the way we have it organized is that if you want to start to read from the beginning, you want to scroll to the end and read in reverse. But that's kind of one of the payoffs, I suppose, of why it's free, is because what we hope in the end is that we'll release it in a printed format, and we'll have it nice and collected. And so that would be the appeal for having a printed edition, as well as having the stuff online. So everything will be archived online. And the website, which is an awful mouthful, I apologize, but it's www.thelegendofwilliamlamport.com.
Thelegendofwilliamlamport.com. All right, very good. Yeah, go on, please.
Oh no, so that's pretty much it. So it's just been like, as I was saying, the story's just like amazing. Like when you hear something like that, I mean, like it's just like, I feel guilty, like even calling myself the writer on it, because I'm like, this thing's writing itself, it's not a historical record.
Yeah, but that's amazing, man. And again, I can't believe, but everything you're talking about, is part of that Zorro legend. I mean, God, even down to Diego Vega going to Spain and and all of that and everything, and then to return to Mexico, and that's incredible. Was he masked, or was he just
no mask? Rabbit? As much as I would have liked it, no mask. But what we've been doing in our one is, so when he would have fought he would have been fought in the Battle of La Rochelle in 1627, but some records have him being as born as late as 1615. Some say, early 1600s. So no matter what, he would have been a very young man then. So he would have been very much a teenager. But then you have to remember, at this stage in time, people lived and died a hell of a lot younger,
Sure.
So like, I mean, like 20 was almost middle-aged.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what Cormac did great in the opening prologue, we do a great scene where we begin at the end. So what happens is we begin with a jailbreak from the Spanish Inquisition, and then these two jailers are talking about, like, this guy, he's meant to be like a pirate and adventurous. But what's his deal? Some say he's the devil, because when he went to Mexico, he was something of a scientist, and he was very interested in the natural world and medicines and so on and so forth, and plant life. So what he did then was, the Spanish Inquisition saw that as heresy. So like, that's witchcraft because he's mixing herbs. But he's like, no, he is just more like wanted to understand, how the world works. And
Sure.
So these two prison guards in the opening are like, I hear this guy consorts with the devil. And then the next thing is another guard comes in because he's escaped, but we get a flashback to him when he's a pirate, and his collar comes up to his mouth, and there's a brim, like pirate hat over his head. So Cormac Hughes is running all the design stuff on this. Like, all the visuals are very much his design. He's doing a great job. So where I can, I sometimes give him have a collar or a hat, or have a hood to kind of cover it. So, but there's been no mention of a mask. So I'll do everything but a mask, but I'll always have some kind of a hint of something,
it's
so
almost
that's the Hollywood stuff again.
Yeah, it's like that Magneto kind of effect of the helmet and everything. Or even, as
Exactly.
you say, I can appreciate having the high collar and the hat, and then you've got kind of probably the silhouetted eyes. So that's great, man. No, that's cool. And again, what an amazing story. And also, man, I love good swashbuckling kind of stories and things like that. And I think, clearly this, especially with the pirate background and the revolutionary things, and as you say, you're doing like the Hollywood version. My thoughts immediately went to Adventures of Robin Hood with Errol Flynn. And I
That's
mean,
it.
I love that movie. And of course, as I get older, I realize, hey, what's with the like the little jewels on his costume? Like I thought he's supposed to be in the forest and stuff. But again, that was the Hollywood effect and everything to kind of make him sparkle as he was being this dashing hero and everything. So I'm a massive sucker for all the Errol Flynn movies, not only Robin Hood, but of course Seahawk and Captain Blood and all the like. I mean, and again, another man who was a fascinating real life gun runner and stuff in New Guinea, and all of his adventures that he had in Tasmania before coming to the States and becoming a Hollywood leading man and stuff. No, I'm a massive Errol Flynn fan, so this kind of fits that genre, so I like it.
Oh yeah, no, mine was all Tyrone Power in the Mark
Yes,
Zorro. That was always that's in
that
my
movie.
Bible for this one.
Oh God, yeah. Did you ever see in the '70s? I think it might have been a TV movie for American
Yes.
television. Franklin Jella.
Yes, I seen that one. Yes, I seen
Very
that one.
incredible for I mean, Montalban is in it, and I mean it's a great cast, and Von DiCarlo. I love it. I mean seriously, it's so shot for shot. Ann Archer from the Jack Ryan movies and everything plays the young woman in it and everything. And yeah, I mean, really shot for shot, it's totally like a remake of the Mamoulian type.
Oh yeah, it's side by side. It's like they get every beat. It's like almost indistinguishable. But it's I tell you, the sword fight though in it is like I know in Tyrone Power's one as well. Like you can literally see them going hell for leather. You can see the sweat coming off them. Like this isn't something that was like okay, pause here and reset. It's like no. We have the film going, so everyone, this is a legit, one take and an actual like sparring, I suppose, that's going on in it,
Well, and also in both Robin Hood and Zorro, Basil Rathbone is the villain, and Rathbone is such a great swordsman, a better swordsman than the hero actors that he's facing and stuff. So it's really like. I again, as we get older, I'm like, I'm going to watch Rathbone really like do his thing, and it's a shame that. Also even later, you ever see that great Danny Kaye movie? And now I'm blanking on the name of it. But he plays a character that's very Robin Hood-esque called the Fox, and it was in the 50s. Was it the Court Jester? I think it was the Court Jester. Yeah. And it ends with a sword fight, and Basil Rathbone, even in the 50s, was still doing it and everything, and doing a pretty good job. And Danny Kaye was enough of a dancer acrobat and stuff that he was credible with a sword. That's a fun movie. Yeah, Glyn Johns plays the romantic lead in it, and God, Angela Lansbury is a princess in the movie, and I got to tell you, man. I mean, she's a lovely senior citizen, but in the 50s, she's beautiful. I mean, she is crazy beautiful. Both she and Glyn Johns are just lovely in the film, and it's like, wow, look at Angela Lansbury when she's young and. Like right at her physical peak. It's like, look at Angela Lansbury. Good for her, man. So yeah, it kind of cracks me up. Oh yeah,
Angela
man. You see, I'm an old Hollywood. I'm an old
Oh.
Hollywood man. So yeah, I love. And of course, she's beautiful in Gaslight, and she's beautiful in State of the Union. Wonderful Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn film and everything. And she's kind of the other woman in that movie, and kind of it's intimated that she had an affair with Spencer Tracy. Well. He and Hepburn were married in the film. No, I'm a big Lansbury fan. But yeah, man, I love good. Back to the original point, love good swashbuckling stories, and this clearly, this
and
is very
even
cool.
in comics, you don't get much of it. And like what happened was, I'm trying to get the word out of this because ultimately, as I said, like everything's free. We're putting out. So all that we ask that people click on it, they read it, and if they like it, that they share the links as well. That's all that we're asking. So that really benefits us a lot just by getting the word out there. But while I was talking to people about like the swashbuckling side of things, like even in comics we haven't got like I can't remember the last time there was like a really all I can think of is Watchmen, the Tales of the Black Freighter. That's the only significant pirate comic in recent years I can think of.
True.
So I'm just like, there's definitely a market there, and I've been saying to people is, I suppose the sales pitch is, look, if you're an avid if you haven't read comic books, right? So if you're new to comic books, this is going to be something new, but it's going to be engaging. And I think there's a little something for everyone in it. It's like the historical aspect, or it could be the action adventure, it could be the romance. And I said, if you're a long-time comic book reader, don't worry, the hero still wore tights in the 1600s as well,
Absolutely, man.
but it's there's definitely a little something for everyone in it. So I think this could be like I think there's definitely a space in the market there as well for it, because it's been curious when I began the project. We took it to publishers. We sent it around to a few places. I brought it to New York. I brought it to. There's another great convention over in Birmingham called ICE, which is a great show as well. And the response was really curious in that people. So either straight up people don't look at it, and that's fine because publishers very busy, particularly if it's at cons and stuff. They just haven't got a chance. That's the nature of the game, absolutely. But publishers who were interested then would ask for more information, and then they would see how far along we are developing. They're like, oh, it looks like you're too far along for us to have any input. I'm like, what? No, I'm happy to go back and make revisions. But it's and even with mainstream media, there's a big publication I reached out to who seemed really interested in covering it. And when I was writing to them, they said, so who's publishing it? And I was like, well, technically, it'd be ourselves. And they were like, oh, we can't, because we can't cover self-published work, because certain book review, certain newspapers with the book review section, they won't cover self-published. You have to be a publisher or something like that. So I was like, interesting. So it's like, so I think that was kind of part of the reason why it kind of took so long to get the project out there as well, is because, well, like as I said, I've done stuff with Light and Strike Comics, my own. I've published stuff on other people's work, but at the same time with this, I felt, well, you don't want to be in a position where you're like, you're the writer and then the editor and then the publisher, because when you juggle that many balls, something's going to get dropped. And at least when I'm a publisher or an editor, I'm separate to the creative process. This is one of the few times I've been involved in it. So that's why we're kind of serializing this as well, is that by breaking it up, I have kind of like space to see how things are going down if I want to make adjustments, and then seeing course corrections I want to make to it and everything. But so that's it. So what we're hoping for is ultimately we want to see it in print. And I think by the end of 2021 we'll probably get a decent print, but we'll see what we'll do then, if we're able to send it out to like publishers or something, because there's a lot of other places we haven't checked as well, that I think would be, because there's getting published now, is the options are fantastic in that we have many companies will cover it, is that as long as you have the content, they're happy to publish it, but then you also have to cover the expense of the creative team and everything in it. So it's a big undertaking. People recommend crowdfunding to me, but I've had terrible time trying to ship stuff before that. I'm like, that's adding like an extra job to it, and then taking it when I'm doing something else. Yeah. Yes. It's like once you do something like that, it's taking you away from the creative process. But no, we're looking forward to trying to get it out there. And I think the online process has been great. But it's so funny because David Lloyd I invited over to Comic-Con. Like, you've spoken to David as well.
Yes,
he's a great guy.
In fact, I'm kind of thinking of having him back and doing a video chat with him. Go on, tell me about it.
David definitely. Yeah, no, he's Aces Weekly. I think like that guy is an absolute legend, and it's great to talk to him. And I remember I met him at a show in London once, and I invited him over to Dublin Comic-Con. I remember he came over, and I remember at the time I was just starting to publish stuff, and I was all about the print, and he was all about the digital. Right. And I remember we would always kind of like, not clash heads, but we would be like, okay, he had all the merits for digital, but I was like, yeah, but I still like having something tangible, physical in my hand. I still see that part and parcel of the medium. Oh, and now I find myself producing something entirely digital at the moment. Like, oh my God, he's right. And see, and this is why that guy is the genius that he is. That's why never go up against like the chess master, the grandmaster. Stay in your lane. But this is it. But it's like it was that kind of stuff. But it's really interesting looking back, because I suppose Light and Strike would have began in 2011, and we've been printing stuff or producing stuff since 2012. But in that space of time, it's really interesting the preconceived notions I had as just a comic book reader, just reading stuff. And then when you actually go out and do it, you go, oh God, this is completely different how it's meant to be. But you understand why though, because sometimes you might question like, why is it done this way? Why not do it another way? Then you do it, and then you fall on your ass and you go, that's why, lesson learned, But it's great because like, for anyone listening, anyone doing anything, like whoever's like oh, I have an idea for a book, and then you kind of get disheartened by, oh, there's no publisher there to get it. You're afraid no one will read it. The best thing you can do is just do it. Just do it yourself and just get the word out there, as much as possible, because it's so satisfying and you enjoy the process so much once you do it. And of everything that I've done creatively and professionally, I think this has been one of the most rewarding, just from a satisfaction point of view, of just like, oh, I've created something, and this is the story being told, and it's great. But you often hear people say that and be like, oh yeah, easy for them to say when they have something like done and all that, but like it really is, it's true, it's great.
Owen, I understand, and honestly, this is where, and I'm sure I've said this a million times on the podcast, where I feel a kinship with cartoonists in terms of, hey, if you're not getting the job you want, create it yourself and make it. And that's exactly what I did with Word Balloon. And just as you said, and I mean, as I was telling you, I lost the radio gig in April, but Word Balloon really, for the 15 years that I've been doing it, has been the most gratifying broadcast style job that I've ever made for myself, and has been much more gratifying than 30 years in Chicago radio, because it's exactly the kind of show that I wanted. And I think prior to the digital platform, it was something that couldn't exist. I mean, there've been even in Chicago, there've been attempts in television and local radio to do shows about comics, but again, it's now with the digital platform, you can reach a global audience. I'm speaking to one of my global listeners right now, which is fantastic. But no, and you're absolutely right, man. I mean, it really is. It's hard. It's hard in its own way, and certainly not as hard as making a comic book would be. But honestly, I can appreciate the gratification you're getting from doing this yourself. And God, comedians and filmmakers and all these other people that it's like, hey, while you're waiting for that job, your dream job, make it yourself, and and it might actually open the door to other opportunities and things. So I can appreciate your enjoying the process and the satisfaction of having done it.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely great, and I highly recommend it to everyone if anyone ever has a story in them, be it a comic book, a novel, short story, a film, anything like that. Even if you haven't got all the resource that you want, just write the script. Take it one step at a time. Literally, I think I've been doing, like, I forget what year I started, what the date was. It might even be 2013, I think, is the date that's on the script at the moment for Lamport. So that's how long I've been waiting to do it, about like 7 years, and I have to finally just get something out digitally, but still, it's worthwhile. Once you do it, it's like, it's fantastic. So, and it's great. And it's like, obviously it's starting conversations. Like, it's great talking to yourself as well.
Oh,
and,
yeah, man.
And sharing, and hopefully folks listening in as well might be interested in it as well. And it's definitely, I think there's definitely, with the lockdown and going on, I think that we're going to see a lot of, like, a big, after a while when everything kind of gets back to normal, we're going to see a big kind of creative splurge of, like, all these writers who are locked up the ideas that they've had, and the planning process and everything. Like, that's going to be an exciting time to see what comes from it at the end.
Yeah, Bendis made the same point really early on in the pandemic, and that was one of the positives, that as people were kind of scared and I think a little lost, he's like, it's usually in these stressful times that the creative gene kicks in a lot of us, and we suddenly innovate and figure things out. So no, I don't blame you at all, Owen. I mean, I think this is really cool. What have you talked to other podcasts or videocasts about this? Have you?
Just starting off now, what we've done is we sent it out to press, just mainly blogs and newspapers. A great newspaper, like a independent paper over here, the Dublin Inquirer, reminds me of Citizen Kane, the New York Inquirer.
That's right.
Yeah, they did a great piece and cover on us as well. And so I contacted yourself, but I think it's also just it's just, there's a lot of volume of stuff out there as well to be heard. But I'm sending stuff out. But what we do is, so as well as the website, thelegendofwilliamlamport.com, if you go on Twitter at Lamport William, you'll find us on Twitter as well. And if you look it up on Facebook, you find us as well. So we basically have it like as an open. If anyone wants anything, like any questions or comments, just drop us a line and tweet us, message, leave a comment, share. But we're very much, if you go to the website, there's a simple contact page which will link all our social media and has an email as well that you can just send off to. But if anyone like just spread the word is basically it. And I've sent out to a few people, and then if anyone else comes across it, happy days. But as you said, like ultimately, I'm satisfied now that I'm finally getting up and running and we'll see it completed. But if we can just get as what my main focus is, not to get rich off it, but to just have the biggest audience I have to see it. And if I can achieve that, then I'll be very, very happy. So and that's where we're at now. And it's also, as I said, like the merits to it could be great. Like it could be this. Like I'm looking at a few other ideas. That if this worked out really well, I could maybe do a series of like other like real life inspired historical characters, because there's a few others. Like once you pick on one, you come across others. Then that's really interesting. And then even just the time while writing this, it was interesting uncovering, material from comic book history, that you think was a given, and then you realize, oh no, wait, that's not. That's actually might not be true. I don't know if when Superman was created, they said that Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster might have read Philip Riley's The Gladiator.
Yep. So
there's a great book. I don't know if you come across, but there's a great book. I'm just reading at the moment. It's called Poison Chalice. It's by Padraig O'Meara. And he's a great Irish writer, but it's called The Poison Chalice: The Extraordinary, Long, and Incredibly Complex Story of Miracle Man of Marvel Man and Miracle Man. It's a really good read.
The cover looked familiar because Mark Lamming actually had told me about this book. And unfortunately, isn't it crazy? Because it is supposedly this amazing book, not available on U.S. Amazon, which drives me crazy. So please tell me about the book.
I tell you what, send me an address. I'll send you out a copy. I have to shop it. I'll send you out because it's worth the read, man. It's great. I'll send you out a copy. But yeah, I think it's Michael Carroll, who also has written a lot of stuff with 2000 AD Judge Dredd. He did the cover design. Now that you mention it, but it's great. I'm just starting the opening, but basically the way it's broken down is he's done a great job of he's trying to explain like what happened with Marvel Man and everything that Alan Moore and Neil Gaiman and the rights issue and everything that happened. So it's broken down into like part 1, intermission, part 2, intermission 2, and part 3. And obviously, Marvel Man got a revamp recently with Marvel Comics. But in part 1, it says from Gladiator to Superman. And in it, he's just basically mentioned that everyone is saying how, everyone's saying that, the guys, Siegel and Schuster, read Philip Riley's book. And there's even a quote from Philip Riley and from his biographer. But what Padraig O'Meara did, what he finally decided to do, was to actually find evidence of did either of them read it, or did he ever have an account where they said that they have. He didn't find it.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah. So it's just like, there might have been aware of some of it, but there's no like evidence. And I was like, my God, that's something that would have been so embedded in my mind as being absolutely factual. But he did the one thing that no one's done, which is actually do the research, So
Sure.
there's this, so that's just like, so for that nugget of information on, and he's so well meticulously researching that he has footnotes and bibliographies and but it doesn't read laboriously. Like it does, if you're impassioned about this kind of stuff, it won't read as like text heavy. Like it just reads a really good story. But yeah, I'll send you over a copy.
Oh, that'd be great, Owen. I appreciate that. Thank you, man. No, like I said, Mark told me about it, and he showed me the cover, and that's why I'm like, wait a minute, is that same book? And I'm like, maybe it's just the same, font on the cover or something. And then I saw the glove, and I'm like, oh no, that is the Marvel Man book. That's wonderful. Did they ever finish? Because I mean, I read Miracle Man and Marvel Man back when Eclipse was doing it in the '80s here in the States, and I even have Chuck Austin did that infamous birth issue, Miracle Man 9 or Marvel Man 9. And I saw him at a Chicago show, and I'm like, at first I was going to get a Darwin Cook illustration, and people were being really mean to Chuck about the X-Men, and I really felt bad. And I'm like, and they were sitting at the same table, so I'm like, hey, Chuck, draw me a Miracle Man. He goes, oh, sure, no problem. So I have a great ink Miracle Man that Chuck drew for me, which I absolutely love. And I'm wondering if when in the Marvel run, because I had already read it, did they ever finish the Silver Age, the Gaiman story that came after all the. I mean, there was the Golden Age that I know was completed, but then the story about the Silver Age was really about young Miracle Man, the lieutenant of Marvel Man.
Yeah. No, so if memory serves, I picked up when Marvel got the license back. I started picking up the reprints I did and the remastering. I think they redid the coloring and everything in it, and they finished Alan Moore's bit and they published everything that I think was released by Neil Gaiman as well. So that was all done, and they added in a bonus annual that Grant Morrison did that never saw publication. So that was the only bonus content I think that they did, which was there's a Grant Morrison one that came in, and then they had plans to do more, but then it suddenly went quiet again. So that's why I guess that's why it's like a poison chalice, I suppose. It's like, as far as I know, it hasn't been the bit afterwards. I think they've done everything that had been released before, apart from the Grant Morrison annual, was already released, and they added in bonus content such as like interviews and scripts and sketchwork, but they still haven't. There's meant to be more content, but it hasn't been released yet. I'm hopeful it probably will come out, but just not yet.
I don't know. And I want to say Mark Buckingham was drawing the Silver Age with Neil, and then of course, I know Fables, clearly took a lot of Bucky's time, and that's maybe one of the reasons why they never got back to finishing it. I have no idea, and I didn't know about that Grant Morrison annual. I'm going to definitely have to check that out. So that's cool.
Yeah, I think it was a short one. I think, that came out. I think it was like an annual. It was like a short story or something like that in it, but Yeah. No, check it out. It's definitely it's what I think Joe Quesada might have actually done the artwork for that one as well, because I think they had the script and he did the artwork. I think hopefully my memory isn't playing tricks on me now, but yeah, definitely. If you type in Grant Morrison Miracle Man, I'm sure Marvel Man, I'm sure you'll find it.
I'm kicking myself. I just recorded a Joe Quesada interview on Sunday as we're recording, and I was so focused on what he was doing and this charity thing he's doing. For the virus, for support of the virus, and for the Hero Initiative. So I pretty much.
That's actually.
Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I was just going to say, just as you mentioned that, you asked me earlier on about the Irish community, and as you said about the COVID, the lockdown and the charity thing. Obviously, some of the stuff, the charities for the comic shops in the States, we can't benefit from it. The Irish comic shops can't, but of course Declan Shalvey and Dave Hendricks, they've been doing the Storytellers auction, which is great. So I'd be remiss if I didn't give them a shout out for all the hard work that they've been doing at raising for auctions and all. But if you can find Dave, I think Dave can be found, Dave Hendricks on Twitter. He's a great writer and creator as well of comics. Definitely check out his stuff as well. But it's just been and it's been really good, and I've been seeing it all in the news as well. Like all the news websites with comic books, all the comic creators have been doing great with like Jim Lee doing the sketching as well and selling the sketches. It's been
Comics
fantastic.
for Creators, Sam Humphries. I just talked to him about that initiative that he co-founded, and Bendis has certainly been out there doing the same. No, it's again, man. We're all. I mean, I always say, I'm not in comics. I cover comics, and I used to say that about sports when I covered sports radio. I'm like, I'm not in sports. I cover sports, but I do feel part of the comics community, and honestly, as readers should as well. And we do. We all get together, and it's like, all right, what can we do to help? And I think that's a terrific thing that is a good model and point of our community and what we're able to do. And we take this stuff seriously, and we want to help each other out when things are tough. I've been the beneficiary of that kind of support as well. So I think that's terrific, and it's really great to hear. So, dude, how close are you to finishing your story with William Lamport?
So with Lamport, the way it's going to go on to is I envision at the moment that in total it should come to about 72 pages.
Okay,
is what
great.
we saw. This is one standalone, so I think it's kind of like it's not too big, not too long, but just a good kind of size. And then if I decide I want to go on to other stuff, then at the same time that's there. But if there's a demand for more, then it's easy enough to grow it as well. But at the moment, we're going to say 72 pages. Currently, at the moment, we have the 7-page prologue, and we have 6 more additional pages. Consisting of 3 2-page serial entries up on the website now as well. So basically, all through the rest of 2020, you're going to see probably be able to finish out heading into 2021. And that then puts us on track then for a print, hopefully collection in 2021 then as well. But so that's where we're at now at the moment. But all the bonus content then, which be like articles tying into, like, it could be anything from Irish history to Mexican politics to Spain to battle of Kinsale and stuff like that. That would be all covered on it as well. And whether, if we do the print one, that could be something that we might do like a deluxe version down that might have some of the history stuff added into it then as well. We'll see. That could be fun. Like if we appeal to like schools and stuff, that could be a fun aspect to include it in. So so see, I'm finally putting that history degree to use. Woo!
So the website again, is it legendofwilliamlamport.com or the Legend of William Lamport?
TheLegendofWilliamLamport.com.
Got it.
So
excellent, man.
So
very cool. Oh, and honestly, I think that's outstanding, and I'm happy to spread the word. I'm sorry we're not doing a Word Balloon live. Not at all. We're recording it, and so. But no, I mean, the great thing is that, and certainly the audio will, I still got my several thousands of the League of Word Balloon listeners. They're out there, and they'll be listening, and I'm sure they'll be checking it out. And also, I will post this, up on YouTube and Facebook, and then some of my places, and certainly,
thank you.
It's my pleasure, and absolutely, people should absolutely share this conversation and get the word out and stuff. Hey, man, who knew that Zorro was Irish? This
is it.
I think that's amazing, and really, this is you're selling yourself short by saying, I'm not really writing this. All I'm doing is kind of reporting the legend. Hey, you're carrying the water, man, and again, you're putting the Hollywood touches to it. So I think that's fantastic. Sounds like a really cool story, man, and I'm happy to help promote it and your efforts. Anything else going on with Lightning Strikes? Did you want to mention anything?
Well, at the moment, we hopefully where we began. I mentioned before the Anthology magazine. We had 9 issues of the 9 volumes of the Anthology done. We hope to do another 10. I think maybe we could wrap it up around volume 10. But I've been saying that for the past year. But I was just trying to find both the time, and I'm trying to get the original collaborators back together, because everyone's gone off and done so many interesting things with career. Like some have been published mainstream now since we began. So I want to try and get like the band back together, as it were, just to maybe put a nice cap on it. Because when we began the Anthology, you know that thing, it always gets in everyone's nerves. Oh, do it for the exposure. When we began Lightning Strike, we all did it for the exposure, but no one was getting paid. Like we all basically knew what the score was, and I think went back into the book. But it was great to see that people did use it as a platform for themselves. Like I know my career has benefited from it, and I think others, their portfolio grew from it, and they managed to find work. And I remember one creator came up to me at a convention, and he was really anxious because he had a big interview with a big company, but a project that he'd done, the publisher didn't bring the book with them or whatever was published, so he's kind of at a loss. And then luckily he had done something with the Lightning Strike Anthology, so he had that to present that as portfolio thing. And because he says it's always nice when you have a portfolio, but when you have something published, it's also nice as well to show it. So I always, the stories like that were really nice when people can't just to see the benefit to it, because sometimes you can have these moments of crisis when it all goes wrong, you're struggling to make ends meet with the projects. But then when you see the good news stories, that's great. And I think that's just indie press, small press, just in a nutshell. But over the past, what we've done is, outside of the independent creator-owned stuff, we've done some video game license, basically adapting video games into comic book form, which is great. That was one of our 4th contract gigs, which really kind of proved that the business might have something to it. And we've done licensed IPs like, I don't know, just off my head there, you probably see Sherlock Holmes by Stephen Downey. He did we did that as a charity a book a few years ago, but the Arthur Conan Doyle estate signed off on it as well, which was class. And then we've of course done stuff with the Phantom, and that's been great. That I've worked with, Stephen Downey, the Grey legend and absolute gentleman Alex Saviuk, who has been absolutely fantastic. The ever patient and always professional Mike Collins as well. And like these guys are like absolute like A-listers and many more as well. But it just brought me into orbit with so many people. In fact, that's where we met, was actually at
Yes,
Alex's table in New York one year.
absolutely. That was terrific.
And but just the yeah, yeah, this is it. Like it's been great. We even managed to do a little panel at New York as well, which was great. But the main thing with Phantom, I think, was because I went in for an IP, and that's going in with King Features Syndicate and a contract. And I think that was one of the first times where it's like, well, let's dip our toe into this, and then suddenly it's like, it's like first you're paying big bucks before you even pay your artist. Then when you do that, you have to figure out the logistics of shipping the books, and then if something goes awry, you want to try and keep it cheap, so you go standard shipping because you give them the option, and then something goes awry. So that really was like a kind of alert for myself then to go, okay, so maybe I can't sustain this as I can, like other publishers can, particularly definitely not outside of Diamond. But then that was good because that then allowed me to consider the online format that I'm exploring now, which is great. So again, always, learning curves to be made. But like Phantom was great because that introduced me to King Feature Syndicate, and that allowed me when I think it was the 90th anniversary or the 80th anniversary of Prince Valiant came out. Hal Foster's Prince Valiant. They sent me a booklet and some material and said, feel free to share this online. And I said, well, can I turn this into a booklet and hand it out for free at comic shops? And they were like, yeah, great, go for it. So that then allowed me to have a Prince Valiant book under my belt then,
Oh, wonderful.
And
yeah.
So and then we did another charity book, which was featuring Highlander, which was we got through Studio Canal, and that was great because then that allowed me just to add like another little, IP. So that's the future for Lightning Strike. If I do another book on the Lightning Strike banner, it's probably going to be volume 10 of the anthology, and what the future will hold to it then we'll see. Like Lamport might be published under it as well, depending on like what options make themselves available. But I'm kind of happy to have it, just that body of work there. And then what I'll probably do during the lockdown, while everyone was stuck indoors and everything, I was like, well, we released issue 9 of the anthology for free for everyone to read, so they can just download and read it. So then I was like, well, after a while, because we made these anthologies and everything for free, anyway, at the beginning, I was like, well, after a spell, why not just put the whole catalogue up there so everyone can just sit down and look at it and read it. So when we reach 10, we probably do it. I'll probably do 10. Probably do what I usually do, which is like sell it for a charity cause, link in with Dublin City Comics, maybe donate it to one of the children's hospitals, and then when it's done, release all the PDFs digitally online, because I think that'd be just like cool just to have. We have the website lightningstrikecomics.com. I might as well update it and do something with it as well. If anyone's interested in buying any of our books on lightningstrikecomics.com, usually I'd be like, yeah, go ahead, but with the lockdown, I'm strongly urging don't buy anything yet because it'd be a wild shipping and getting to you. So
I understand.
so sorry about that. I'm my own worst salesman at the moment, but I was terrible at shipping stuff before this began. It's going to be 10 times worse while we're in the pandemic. But slowly but surely. But no, it's been a great experience. Like if it wasn't for the work I did with Lightning Strike Comics, I wouldn't have been brought to the attention of Dave Williams, who I did know before, but he really started, observing me professionally, and he recommended me for like the job and the work I got with Pulse College. And now I'm like a course director there, and all the opportunities that's afforded me. So really, it is, when you go into comics, you don't know what avenue you're going to get to it. And I always say to like all my students is you want to be diverse with your skill set. But who would have thought that, doing an indie comic would lead to a career in academia? But there you go. That's essentially what it did. So it's always good to do it that way. So yes, that's what the future has. And as I said, if Lamport goes well, there might be one or two other historical characters like. I know I'm going to find Superman next. Who was the real Superman?
That's outstanding, man.
But
very cool.
But so that's it.
No, it sounds great. Oh, and honestly, I think it's great. The Legend of William Lamport.com is where you can find the current story and learn more about the Irish Zorro right from the beginning. And I think that's terrific. And we will spread the word. And it's free. I mean, that's the other great thing is, hey, while we're waiting for Diamond to slowly get back up to speed and stuff like that, people are still consuming comics digitally. And again, I like pointing people out to the great comics that are out there that are available right now, like William Lamport. So that's great, Owen. Honestly, it's a pleasure to have this conversation and get to know more about what you're doing. Continued success, and you're certainly welcome back with any new projects or as Lamport develops and everything. And
Thank you.
if you find a publishing home or whatever. But yeah, let's make sure. I'm sure we'll stay in touch. But yeah, man, it's great to talk to you about this project. And congratulations on putting something cool out that you can call your own. And again, that it feels good to be able to do that. So I give you a lot of credit for doing it. Well done.
Thank you very much. This is great. Very much appreciated. My thanks again to John for taking the opportunity to speak with me and permission to re-release this episode on Creative and Conversation. I hope everyone enjoyed this. It's a little bit different, and hopefully it gives you some insight into some of my own work and passion for the medium. Of course, my own background being an undergraduate in history, it was nice that I was able to marry together so many of my interests with the legend of William Lamport. Anyone listening, if you've enjoyed what you hear, particularly about this project, please do get in touch and let us know what you think. And if you'd like to secure a copy, even if you go to the website for free and read, the clicks will certainly help us as well. And if you're new to this particular podcast, please go back and check out our previous episodes. We have some amazing conversations with leading industry experts such as Kevin Eastman of the TMNT, Frank Miller of 300 in Sin City, Andrea Romano, the voice casting director behind Batman the Animated Series, Paul Levitz, the former president of DC Comics, and many, many more. And also, follow John at Word Balloon, John Siuntres, and if you find John's Patreon page, that's the best way to support John. He has a brilliant offer for $3 a month. You can get access to all episodes of Word Balloon, but also an exclusive e-magazine which features transcriptions of some of his best, most brilliant interviews, leading interviews with industry experts. And there's also a monthly book club as well, featuring with Brian Michael Bendis. So you'll be able to get into a Zoom call with John and Brian, and you read a graphic novel in advance for the month and you get to discuss it with them. So that's really a wonderful opportunity, and that's at Word Balloon. And follow John wherever you get your podcasts, or look at Word Balloon on YouTube as well. Until next time, this has been a copyright production of Macaulay Consultancy 2025.